right, I am happy to be joined with TerrAscend CEO and Executive Chairman Jason Ackerman joins us again. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Chad. How are you?
Excellent. It's been probably 6 months since we last connected. Last connected back in the summertime, and well, not much has changed in the U.S. Cannabis landscape since then. And I say that very, kidding, obviously wise, but what a size of growth this industry has had over the past few months, don't you think?
Oh, it's been incredible. It's been one of the fastest, pivots from hot to cold to hot that I've seen in almost any industry. So it's amazing.
Are we just scratching at the surface, you think, with where this is going to go?
Oh, completely. I mean,
Yeah.
put it in perspective, right? There's 50 to 70 billion dollars of cannabis consumption. It's probably bigger than alcohol. Most of it's still happening in the illicit market. So we're at early innings of the conversation as a legal industry. So yeah, we're just scratching.
Well, the big thing that we're learning, and we try to obviously educate a lot of investors in this space, is that whatever happened in Canada 5 years ago is completely opposite with what's going on in America. That's an understatement to say the least. But
Yeah.
these are real companies producing big fundamental dollars. So, as much as we've seen like a big, tremendous growth in this industry, how much more potential do you think that lies ahead over the, say, even like the next 12 months?
Oh, it's really huge, and just remember, and I could get these facts wrong, but I think maybe 13 of the states are recreational legal out of the 50.
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of movement. There's a bunch that are medical on top of that, maybe 30 plus. So if you really think about it, again, go back to $70 billion of consumption happening now. We're not like making up an industry, right?
Yeah.
It's really about the progression of moving the illicit market to the legal market. And so just as legalization continues to happen and sweep across the country, you're just going to see this industry, continue to move up. There's lots of runway here.
Jason, are you hearing anything about the MORE Act, decriminalization, and as well as how the Safe Banking Act is progressing?
I hear a lot, but like all politics, it's a very, very difficult chess game to predict, what's going to happen. You look at the COVID relief bill, we thought maybe the Safe Banking Act might get snuck in there. It got pulled out the last minute to get through, So what I do believe is that you're seeing a tidal wave of broad support continue to build on several fundamentals in the business around proper and safe banking, around the tax code and descheduling to allow research, around decriminalization, which is a big Biden agenda because the war on drugs has been so detrimental, and that's a big platform of his.
Yeah.
As well as the reality of it, the harmfulness isn't what people think, and so yeah, there's just momentum building. It's hard to say when or what piece, but there's a lot of talk and a lot of positive.
I want to get into that in a little bit later with Jason Weld, what he announced a couple of weeks ago. But first, I want to talk about your stock specifically. It's been one of the best performing multi-state operators since last summer, only a rise in 451.7% to be exact since last June. So I know there's a lot of contributing factors into this, but what's the one thing you can explain why investors are so excited about owning the equity and how business execution is helping to broaden, I guess, your investor appeal?
Yeah, there's a whole number of factors that I think people realize as we've really communicated to the street what we're about. One is if you look at the states that we're in right now, we have a halfway mature in Pennsylvania where we really are the dominant player producing significant cash flow, and we've demonstrated our ability to execute. And if you look at New Jersey, that has just gone rec, but it hasn't. It's at the infancy stage of the industry.
Yep.
Where we'll be a similar dominant player. And we've got Maryland we just bought into. You've got states where we have a proven formula and they're the early stage where people see that the large scale growth is going to happen. You look at Illinois, first year, it's $1 billion of revenue in the legal market. New Jersey should follow through. They've already passed the bill. So there's a huge amount of upside potential for the capital we've already spent in the business.
Right.
That you've got an amazing shareholder base. You've got Jason Weld, who's probably one of the largest investors, bar none, in the cannabis space as a private group, as chairman and majority shareholder of the company, which, lots of acquisition opportunities. Canopy's been very involved with the business. And, we've got, 150 to 200 million of dry powder and cash on our balance sheet for acquisition opportunities. So I think we've got a lot to play with.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds incredible. You talked about Jason Weld, who is like part of the TerrAscend board member, needs no introduction. Recently, he teamed up with NBA All-Star Chris Webber, former NBA All-Star, to create a $100 million private equity cannabis fund to help underrepresented entrepreneurs within the industry. Is this something TerrAscend will look into, leading by example, basically involving itself in similar initiatives to help underprivileged communities?
It's a really, really important initiative. And one thing I love about it is the scale. We all know that, the Black community is being prosecuted 4-1 versus white. The industry is probably 90% white males, 10%
Yeah.
Black, such inequalities. And there's a lot of programs that lots of people have done, but what's great about this program is it's got real scale and size behind the program to really address some inequities that exist in the industry. There's a lot of people who want to get involved in it, and our goal is to help out as much as we can towards, SOPs and standards to really get the entrepreneur who doesn't have the capital or the skills,
Right.
but the desire, really in business. And this kind of scale, I think, could have a real, what I call just a real impact fund. So we're pretty excited and really proud of Jason
Yeah, that sounds great. What are some examples, I guess, when you sit here and say, like, we see a huge growth opportunity within this community? You're a CEO of a multi-state operating company. You obviously are connected with numerous people you're talking to within the space every day. But what are some examples you're seeing why you feel like there's tremendous growth opportunity?
First of all, I think, let's just take a simple thing like New York,
Yeah.
right? There's probably $4 to $5 billion of illicit cannabis consumption happening in the state right now.
Okay.
It's not legal. It's up for this bill. The third time it's coming past, there's a lot of optimism it'll pass. That's just one of many states. So when we look around from here, Virginia just said that they're going to legalize. You go down to South Carolina, even along the eastern seaboard, you've got just so much people are now saying, hey, we have to take a hard look at this. And honestly, COVID, which has really taken a bite out of the local municipal tax base, cannabis has proven that it's a real revenue generator, significant, hundreds of millions of dollars of opportunities.
Yeah.
It's very hard for them to look past this. And the war on drugs has just so decimated so many communities. We can't look past the issues. And it's not just passing legalized cannabis, it's the decriminalization that's so critical. So there's a wave that's happening where we think that the regulation is just going to continue to move through state by state.
Looking back 9 months ago, it was a big monumental moment. I don't think we knew it was big back then, but it seems to get bigger and bigger. And that is the fact that cannabis was deemed as an essential business in the US. You think we look back 5 years from now and say, like, maybe we didn't really understand how significant that was when they made that announcement?
Well, that's an interesting point. First of all, it is an essential service. And I think too many people from the outside see it as a recreational conversation. But the reality is this is a very important medicinal drug that has enormous positive impact to cancer patients, PTSD, other forms that, you look at the opioid crisis, it's already proven that when you legalize cannabis, right, you reduce opioid deaths. Cannabis is not an addictive drug. So just the recognition as an essential service and seeing the benefits, I think it changes the way and the lens that people are looking at cannabis as an opportunity as a health and wellness, not just as a recreational drug.
Recreational, it's like there's a lot of growth, a lot of talk. Big news, obviously, last week, Governor Phil Murphy of New Jersey recently signed a bill to legalize recreational cannabis. TerrAscend will have expanded sales opportunities within the state for its 3 retail store licenses, creating another big opportunity for you. So what does this mean, I guess, to the company's top line, and whether you think pressure, I guess, from neighboring states such as Pennsylvania to pass their own recreational cannabis legislation?
Yeah, if you look at the tri-state area, the New York, all that area, there's a lot of commerce and people who travel around. The governors are very, very conscious that if New Jersey goes recreational, New York doesn't. You're seeing stuff moved, lost tax rate to the other side of the river. So New Jersey going rec, I think, puts a lot of pressure on Pennsylvania, Connecticut, and New York to pass. Yep. Everyone's already talking about it. So I think this is a monumental moment. And it was 67% of the population voted in favor of the bill. So
big
there's
number.
Clear that there's political support for this in the mass pop. So yeah, I think it's a really big deal. And what it means for us is, it's great to be involved in a state that's at the infancy where you can try to go big, fast, and capture the wave of the tsunami of an industry that's now going to move very quickly in the state. And so we're really excited about that.
Yeah.
And my own little passion, having been an internet guy for 20 years and building a business and delivery, I do think, New Jersey offers e-commerce and delivery, and I think that it's a great opportunity also, because I think cannabis, more than half of the sales to consumers over time will be done through the internet.
Yeah.
That's another opportunity.
Yeah, it's a good point. Very good point. I know you probably get asked this question probably 4 or 5 times a day, but let's talk about the federal level question. I'm sure it's something you'd love to have the answers for, but I'm sure you get asked this a lot. But from the company's perspective, if indeed this does happen, is that something right now that as the company you plan to build around, or something you plan around right now? Or do you just like the way it potentially is, which is status quo, and you build a sound business around the markets in which you operate?
I think full federal legalization is the obviously big bar to cross, and it's not obvious if that's going to happen. And by the way, it's not obvious if it's even necessary for everything to convert, right? The states have the right, and the country has already said we're not going to prosecute. So I do believe that the most important stuff, like the Safe Banking Act, is critical for access to capital. Yep. That's rational. There's a lot of momentum for that. I think the descheduling has a decent probability of happening. What's critical about that is, the unjust taxes where you can't deduct expenses is very unjust to the industry, particularly for entrepreneurs. But more importantly is we've got to allow research on the drug, and there's a lot of pressure for that. So I think descheduling could also happen without full legalization. And I think just those alone are going to continue to open up the industry around the state. And then the federal one, it's hard to plan for something it's like planning for an election. It's very hard to know. So we keep on moving forward as if the businesses can continue to be, in the current state, but moving forward with some of these proposed bills. And then if it, federal happens, we'll have some time to react and decide kind of how we pivot a little bit. But, that's our attitude right now.
Well, moving forward is indeed something you're accomplishing and continue to do so. Listen, I appreciate the time. I know you're a pretty busy person right now, but let's keep in touch, and all the best as we move further along here in 2021.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Jason.